Hey, what is up everyone? Welcome back to another review, and today I'm taking a look at the Real Grade Sword Impulse Gundam. And a lot of time when it comes to these premium Bandai releases, they're a little hard to come by, etc., can be expensive. The question I never really get around to, which I should get around to, is it worth it? And honestly, probably for the first time ever, I can say, absolutely. This thing is ridiculous. The Real Grade Force Impulse was a great kit. What am I saying great kit? It was a fantastic, awesome kit, Platinum Tier. This is just the same level of Platinum Tier awesomeness, but that red color scheme is blowing my mind. And hey, big swords! You cannot go wrong with a pair of big swords. Anyway, as usual, this video right here would not have been possible without those fantastic people over at Bai. So if you want a premium Bandai kit you can't get anywhere else and you can't find it anywhere else, you will definitely find it over on Bai, and link is down there in the description. So jumping right on into that overview of absolutely everything that comes in the box, so here is that Real Grade Sword Impulse and all of the accessories. So a lot of this we would have seen before. As for what is new in this box, that would be that sword silhouette pack, as well as the two big old swords. Everything else in here we would have seen somewhere else at some point or another. That would be with the Real Grade Force Impulse here, or as is the case with this set of effect parts, with something else. I'm not sure, it doesn't actually say what it's from. But I'm gonna assume it's from the high grade variant. Finally, the last thing that would be unique in this box is this set of Real Grade style stickers, but that is enough about all of these. Let's get right into looking at the Sword Impulse Gundam itself. So jumping right on into the aesthetics now, and there is the Real Grade Sword Impulse out of the box, just snapped together with a little bit of extra effort. As usual, that extra effort is just a little bit of minimal panel lining using a basic Gundam marker, that is all. So first off, taking a look at it without that silhouette pack, and as you'd expected, is just a color swap of the Real Grade Force Impulse Gundam. That is an absolutely mind-blowingly good small-scale model kit, so I was expecting exactly the same from this, which technically it is. But what I did not expect is that absolutely awesome shade of red. This is kind of hard to describe, and I'm not sure how well it will pop up in video, but it's both vivid and muted at the same time. It's not that standard Gundam foot red. You know that one, it's, well, pure red. No, this is a little bit more subdued, and it just gives it a very classy feel. That paired with the black, this is a joy to behold. Moving on to that full 360-degree spin so you can see absolutely every angle of this absolute beauty right here. Once again, exactly the same as what we saw with the Force Impulse Gundam, besides a bit of a color swap. Just in case you have not seen that review, this is one of the all-time best looking small-scale model kits out there, with all of the newest Real Grade releases. Real Grade really is where it's at right now. Anything since the RX-0 Unicorn Gundam, you're pretty much guaranteed pure gold. Anyway, moving on. So now moving on to the comparisons, and first up is the Force Impulse itself. So once again, these are pretty much identical model kits right here besides the color. And honestly, I did not think I would prefer the red to the blue, but as nice as the blue is, this red there's just something about it. It's kind of like this muted shade of red just shows off a lot more of the detail than the very rich blue back there. It's such a killer color. As for some other comparisons, there it is beside a standard RX-78-2. This is the high grade, not the real grade, and I know I really should get me a real grade. Next up then, there it is side by side with the P Bandai Heavy Weapon System version of the new Gundam, and that's a big Gundam. And finally, there it is side by side with the real grade Unicorn Gundam. So now moving on to the accessories and back to the beginning for that overview to show you absolutely everything that comes in this box. So we have seen some of it before with the Force Impulse Gundam being the rifle, shield, etc. But let's take a quick look through everything as well as what is new in the box. But before I do that, I'm going to do the thing I know I'll forget to do if I put it off. And that is trying the Force Silhouette Pack onto the Sword Impulse right here. I know this kind of doesn't really make any sense because, you know, the minute I pop this on, it should change. Hold on. Let me take this off. What the hell? Didn't expect that to happen. So first off, speeding through everything that comes with the Force Impulse. First off, we've got widespread open hands, some fists, and a multitude of holding hands. That one holding the rifle, so let's check it out. As for the beam rifle right here, it's exactly 100% the same as what we would have seen before. All the features the same, all the detail the same, and it's a very nice little beam rifle. So that does mean it does have a moving handle up front, just like with the Force Impulse, and it can be attached round back onto the butt flap. Just like with the rifle, the shield is exactly the same. The one on the right here is the one with the sword impulse. This one over here is the one that came with the Force Impulse, and the only difference between the two is some panel lining. So they do everything they would have done before, which is pop open like this and slide open like that and that. We've got forearm peg attachment, so that is no issue whatsoever, and it holds on absolutely perfectly. As for all of this stuff right here, we've seen this with the Force Impulse, so there's no point in talking about this too much. But it's just some base adapters, 1/44th scale pilot figure. There should be 2 of those switchblades back there, but somehow I misplaced one. And all that stuff back there is a bunch of stuff for adding to the core splendor to display it just like this. So now moving on to what is new in here, which is the backpack swords and the beam effects. I will also mention that on the runner of the beam effects, we do get 4 leftover standard pink beam sabers. So if you've gotten any of those kits over the last while that had no beam sabers in them, for example like the entry grade Gundam, well here you go, you got a whole bunch of spares in this kit that you can use. So before we get this attached onto the Sword Impulse Gundam, there is what it looks like attached onto the Silhouette Flyer. Once again, this is the exact same Silhouette Flyer we would have seen in the other kit, which is the standard release version of the Force Impulse Gundam. And once again, it does look phenomenal. Attaching the backpack is simple yet effective. All you have to do is pop off the Silhouette Flyer, flip up the swords like so, flip back this big old wing section, spin it around, and slap it on. Simple as that, and it holds on perfectly. Just like with the Force Impulse, this thing is meticulously designed. There really is so much going on with this backpack. I absolutely adore it. The fact that it's a big old V shape just makes it even cooler. There's so many moving parts. It can move here, spin there, flip there. A lot of different points of articulation. So this is extremely expressive. If you want to pull these over the shoulder like he's gonna reach up and grab it, you can do that. And that is badass. The swords attach on via a simple peg. Once again, simple and effective. The Excaliburs right here are actually made out of less parts than I expected them to be, but they're still absolutely fantastic looking. And, well, they do exactly what you want them to, which is be a badass, absolutely huge sword. We have 2 simple sandwich style hands in here for attaching it. These just separate in half like this. Once again, like a sandwich, 2 slices of bread, ham. These are simple ball joint attachment wrists. They pop in there just like that. This particular joint right here is a little bit on the loose side when it gets to a certain point, so that can kind of get a little bit floppy. This was not the case on my Force Impulse, and I should say this is still not the case on the Force Impulse. This is extremely solid, so I'm not necessarily sure what it is, just I guess it's one of those things that happens sometimes with model kits, so tightening this up is very simple if you do have that issue. Just get that joint there, paint it up with some top coat, some paint, even a bit of super glue if you're careful, let it dry, pop this back on, and you'll be good to go. We also have some beam effects in here for attaching onto these swords. Attaching these on is extremely simple. I will mention though, these are not new for this kit. These have been around for a while. I've thrown out the runners since building this, so I'm not sure when, but I think it said maybe 2012, so maybe from an earlier high-grade kit of some description. If you do know what kit they are from exactly, drop it down there in the comments, and it'd be super appreciated. And if that was not badass enough already, you can take the 2 ends of the handles of both of these Excaliburs, slap them together into this enormous glaive-like weapon right here. It is also worth noting that we do have an extra hand in here, which can hold onto the blue guard section of the Excalibur, making sure you can hold it in whatever pose that you want. This is incredibly well thought out, and just look at that. This is huge. Absolutely massive. Just make sure to use the right base adapter with it so it doesn't fall over like that. But still, that looks so cool. This is super long. There is the Force Impulse down there for scale. Absolutely awesome. And if that wasn't awesome enough, so next up then in here around back, we also have a couple of beam boomerangs. These are stored in here, and one thing I always love to check on a gunpla kit is, can the Gundam, or mobile suit, whatever it is, reach the weapons? And this is something that most certainly can. And this articulation that we have on here is fantastic. It is just so much fun. So flipping them forward like that, Sword Impulse can just reach right on up and then grab on. How cool is that? I'm not actually sure how it actually grabs the beam boomerangs, if they fly into its hands or they come over its shoulder or what they do. I've never actually watched Gundam See Destiny yet, but either way, it can reach them. These are attached onto the backpack with a very secure 3-point peg. They attach into the same hands that we used with the big old Excaliburs. And as for the beam effects in here, we've got a long one, a short one, both look awesome and vigorous. But these are once again reused from an older kit, but they still look phenomenal. I've always meant to buy the Master Grade Sword Impulse, but never got around to it because of this pose right here. It is so cool. These beam boomerangs look epic. Honestly, this kit is blowing my mind. I love it. So as for the articulation, I am going to skip this part because it is exactly 100% the same as what we saw with the real grade Force Impulse Gundam besides the backpack, which you already took a look at. So if you want to see the full ins and out of the articulation of the real grade Impulse Gundam, then go check out that review. But as you can see, and as you've seen throughout this review, this thing is off the wall when it comes to just how good the posability is. Absolutely flawless. So anyway, that right there is it for the review, and just like with the standard full release real grade Force Impulse Gundam, this is Platinum tier. And just so you don't get confused, because it is quite confusing, Platinum tier is not worse than Gundarium tier. Gundarium tier is not necessarily better than Platinum tier. So when it comes to Gundarium tier, the basic lowdown about that is the fact that it means a kid has surpassed its grade, which is exactly what we would have seen with the new Gundam, Sazabi, the Unicorn Gundam, etc., which were all ridiculous, real grade surpassing kits. But since then, real grades have become that good all the time, so they don't really surpass the grade anymore, get what I mean? It's quite difficult when it comes to real grades. Platinum tier is as good as it gets when it comes to a grade. And Platinum tier real grade means you are not going to get a better model kit anywhere ever of a mecha. And if you love the real grade Impulse, especially the red version, which is the Sword Impulse, or if you just love the look of the kit in general, I say go for it. Without a doubt, go for it. And a lot of the time when it comes to premium Bandai kits, it's hard to fully recommend them because the overall price, especially through middlemen, etc., is a little over the top, but this kit totally is worth it. Big swords, unique backpack, and that shade of red is phenomenal. I love this kit. You will love this kit. It's just that good of a kit. Anyway, as always, thank you so much for watching. Thanks to Bai for providing this right here, so if you want one of your own, there will be a link down there in the description. As always, make sure to come back for more gunpla reviews, and I will see you next time. As usual, I cannot end this video without all my thanks to all of you who support me on the channel memberships, as well as over on Patreon, including Craig Jerry, Tyler Sanders, the ambassador for Asymmetric Cats, Caleb Engelhart, and Sean T.